why don't we get into it? So I guess like first off, what really drew you to working with me? I probably a couple of years ago now,
Yeah.
maybe more than that, maybe 3 years. But what was kind of your starting impressions of my coaching?
So it was a couple years ago, Cam, and I realized, like a lot of players, I'd kind of been searching more through equipment than lessons. The decision to invest in lessons and take my improvements seriously led me to do a fair amount of research. And I loved the way that you and your brothers communicated your service and commitment to people that wanted to improve. And this has been consistent for a couple of years. Your communication is simply outstanding. The con- the content on the website is consistent with the way in which you deliver services and communicate to me, and that matters a lot. It was nice to find somebody whose skill and more so passion for the game is equivalent to mine.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Mike. I mean, I definitely the chats we've had, we're definitely both golf nerds, and we
Yeah,
can sometimes not get work done just because we end up talking about a certain thing. But
exactly.
uh, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think that's something that is just kind of we bleed it, right? We bleed the game. We always, me and you both, we want to really get as better as we possibly can, and I think that's kind of what drove us together to work together, right? So I guess like actually getting into the into our working relationship, doing a lot of lessons because we've done probably north of 20 lessons at this point.
Yeah.
What's what clicked for you with the working relationship that we had?
It clicked right away because it was a sense that there is a commitment to ongoing improvement. It wasn't chasing anything quickly. You did a really good job setting expectations, which was
Hmm.
important for me, and made me realize, yeah, that my progress to improvement needs more of an ongoing commitment. So it was a matter of being able to come together and assess where my swing and where my game was at. You were able
Hmm.
to do that really well and relatively quickly, and then identify, here are some priority points. And again, you manage expectations where it's like, Mike, if you want to get to where you need to go, we are going to break a few things down, build them up in a way which will allow you to play to your strengths.
Hmm.
And I look back and it kind of I heard you and I understood that, but maybe it took me a few more lessons to deeply commit to it. So over the last year, I've really noticed a higher ceiling. And while
Definitely, yeah.
I'm not shooting consistently in the 70s, even if I get around where it's like, oh shoot, I'm still kind of like low to mid 80s. I just know that it's really close. I'm
Hmm.
feeling a lot more comfortable and confident in my game.
Yeah. Well, anytime you text me with one of your rounds where like on a nine, because you end up having to play 9 holes a lot because you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling down here to one where I think this was back in September where you shot two over on 9 holes, three bogeys and a birdie, and that's kind of the results that I know for you is going to be something that you're doing on a regular basis, right? So going from you know not almost feeling like you had hope to break 80 to like, hey, it's starting to happen, right? And
Yeah.
to me, shooting those scores on 9 holes that easily translates to 18 holes. It's just
Exactly.
you're a busy guy. You got a
Yeah.
family. You got a busy job, busy career.
Yeah.
So uh, and that's something that I admire about you because it's hard. It's so hard to get better when you're working in a busy job, and you're trying to balance family life, right? So how I guess on your own end, like from what you took from the lessons, like what did you do to get better with the limited amount of time that you had?
Well, I looked at it in a really holistic way. I knew that, as you said, there's a limited time to which I can play and an even
Mhm.
more limited time to which I can practice. So there were materials that you shared that I would read and reread. Also, done some other reading, and also try to focus on my fitness. So
Yeah.
it's not, because if I had the chance to play 5 times a week and practice the same amount, things would be different. But how can I practice smarter? How can I go out and
Right.
play with purpose? I mean, we'd walked through some of the, the notion of preparing myself before a round. If I'm showing up 15 or 30 minutes before a tee time, what are the things that I should be doing to get myself physically and mentally prepared to
Mhm.
play? Even things you had shared once, where it's like, you know, map out the course the night before, get a sense of, based on where the wide spots of the fairway, here are the clubs you should use. I just feel like I'm making smarter decisions, and
Definitely. Yeah.
the mistakes that I'm making are a lot more manageable. So it's great. I am enjoying the game more than I ever have. I feel like I have more tools in my own toolbox. I'm at a place now, and this is new for me, where I feel that I can assess things on the go. If
Definitely.
the
Yeah.
swing is getting a little bit loose, if there is something going on, I just feel much better equipped to be able to deal with it in real time.
Yeah, your awareness has really gone up, right? Like I think there were a few lessons in the past where we had to kind of beat in the same concept over and over again.
Yeah,
And you came away with like, okay, this is clearly it's getting to a point where, and this is what I want for all of my students, is where you can actually you don't need me anymore, right? Like I'm coaching myself out of a job, which I try and do with every student
yeah,
after a certain amount of time.
yeah.
So and I just to speak about the fitness, to go back to the fitness stuff, like how old are you, Mike, roughly?
56.
56. And I mean, I've seen you hit some, plenty of 280, 290-yard drives in the upwards of 300 in the simulator. So that's pretty rare for someone your age. Like, you rarely even see that on the senior tour. And we've always kind of had those side conversations about keeping fit. And, that's something that to me is, it goes hand in hand with the golf swing, right? Like you can't just work on the golf swing and expect to stay fit. It's the old saying, like you can't fire a cannon from a canoe.
Right.
And you definitely keep yourself strong. And I know that that's something for you that's never really going to be an issue, because that okay, as you age, you need to keep your race car solid, and you've done that, right, which is cool.
Exactly. Yeah. No, so that's been a really big thing. And I appreciate that because um yeah, it's made a difference with my game, but it just in terms of my overall health, which I really appreciate. I think the
Mhm.
big thing that I really took away, and this was early in our conversations, like you just made a commitment to me where it's like, I am here for you and I would like to help you improve. I took that as like, okay, now I have a responsibility. I need to listen to understand, not listen to cut you off halfway. It's like, oh no, I know.
Mhm.
So it was, and I'm proud of me. I'm proud of us because there was a trust relationship that was built really early on. Like it's hard. I think it's hard for a golf player. It was hard for me to like to break that swing down to build it back up. There's this false sense of, oh, I know, because I've had 4 whole stretches where I've played 200
Yeah.
before, so I
Mhm.
know. It's like,
You haven't figured out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but it's been really positive. I've enjoyed it.
Definitely. And I think that's one thing that we've I didn't have to really coach you on this, but I think it's something that's an important distinction from the guys in my academy who make that change and the guys that don't, because there is always a portion of golfers that just never make that next step, and it's a lot of it has been your positivity, your mindset that you've taken. We've had conversations about that before, especially we've had quite a few lessons where we just talk about mental game, right? And that's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that I know at times you're hard on yourself, which helps, but also can hurt. But I think in like in the overall kind of macro scale of things, like you've definitely kept a positive attitude. Like you're still here, you're still pushing, and you're starting to see some good results, right? Especially towards the end of
yes,
this year.
exactly.
So I think that's really cool that you've been able to keep that mental positivity going forward.
No, thank you. I'm proud of that. I've changed my attitude around the game probably in the last 5 years, where
Mhm.
on the surface it's always been fairly quiet, but inside there's a simmering boil. And now I've really
I'm the
I've
same way.
just I've let that go. I'm just, I'm playing for fun now. I obviously want to do my best.
Yeah.
Um, and now I feel that, working in partnership with you, I'm giving myself a better chance for that. I mean, one example that I really liked, I was struggling with my irons, and that it was a hook that was really hard to control. And we
Yep.
went through a few lessons, and it took a few because, and this is what I really appreciated. you seem to have different ways to communicate the same things. In certain instances, there would be
100%.
there'd be visual cues. You would refer to players, or it was you would kind of demonstrate it and provide some feedback for me. And I think that all helped to shape a growing confidence I have in a way to eliminate that, where it's more of just a simple a hold off finish, a feeling like the feel where it's a really exaggerated cut swing. It's not,
Mhm.
but that's all been utilized really well to allow me to develop the confidence I needed.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, just to backtrack a sec for the how your mindset's changed. I think I've seen you go from having, uh, like before you'd had high expectations on your results, and now you have high expectations out of your effort, and you trust that the results are going to take care of themselves, right? And yeah, about your swing, like we can kind of dive into that now, because that's probably what everyone wants to know about as well. What did you actually do with the swing? It hasn't been like, oh, this one tip and then all of a sudden we have a unicorn and you're lacing it up the middle every time. Like there has been different iterations that we've had to go through, mainly to fix your block or your hook. Like that's
Yeah,
been something that's plagued you, and that's what plagued most good golfers. That's what has plagued me for my career, and it's something that
yeah,
I have to always manage, right? And I think you're getting to a point where you're more in management stage. And the one lesson that sticks out to me is the one where it was in the pouring rain, and we worked on that cutoff finish, and you're getting the weight forward,
yeah.
and you're hitting lasers, and then from there, I think things started to change, right? So, I guess talk to me about like what you were struggling with coming in with your swing, and where you feel like you're at now.
I think the struggle I had was a bit of a disconnect between, like, it was a disconnect for me to really understand how one swing would keep the ball in play and the other one was either in the woods or in another fairway. I didn't have
Right.
the ability to discern it. For me, it seemed fairly subtle. Where it's like, well, that one felt good and that one wasn't. And it was the use of technology, a really strong sense of certain aspects of my swing, whether it was weight, whether it was things weren't in sync, or it was a whole host of things
Hmm.
that allowed you to assess where some of the prominent issues were. Once that was done, it was more, here are some of the steps to be able to get it in place. So, and it did.
Hmm.
It took a number of lessons, and it's all kind of helped build that framework, that foundation of comfort and confidence, which I don't think I had before. It was really more. I was really more a matter of what was I bringing in the moment.
For sure. Well, I mean, just to go technical for a second on the data, like my vision for you to start out, and this is where, golf swing models don't work, right? Like, saying,
Yeah,
a student coming in saying, hey, I want to swing like Adam Scott, or you see a coach out there who's teaching everything the same
yeah,
way, because that happens a lot in the modern game, more than you'd imagine. Uh, my vision for you at the start was like, hey, let's get this guy hitting like a 2 degree out to in fade, right? And we kind of soon
yeah,
realized that like it's just not going to happen, right? And we tried a bunch
yeah.
of different things
Good
to
point.
get you there. And this is where like the honesty comes in with like, you know, it's not easy. This is why the game is so difficult, right? We kind of learned that for you, your best move is like a 3 degree in to out draw, where you kind of hold the face open a little bit more, cut the finish off, and you're not, you're pretty much just hitting like your face and your path match pretty nicely, but on the coming from the inside, right? And um, that's what I want you to work on next, by the way. But that's kind of the way we found it, right? And it wasn't through this crazy aggressive rotation. We definitely went through that iteration, and we learned quite a bit from there. But that was the beauty of it, is we made these little pivots and we're still making those pivots. And I've seen the swing really kind of get dialed in to a point where it doesn't feel like some crazy foreign swing.
No,
It's
no,
more of
it
your
doesn't.
swing where you can play off of it.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that because I didn't feel that you were trying to break it down and build something that wasn't there. It was really working within my not tendencies, but more limitations, perhaps.
Hmm.
And, so we were able to come up with a swing that it's showing it's showing some better results. It's
For
showing
sure.
a greater degree of consistency.
Yeah. And I think like it was a lot of it was just taking in consideration what your body can do, right? Like you would be
Yeah.
someone who a little bit tighter in the lower body, right?
Yeah.
And but you have a lot of hand speed and a lot of strength in the upper body, right? So we can utilize that, right? So I think that's been a big thing is just really figuring out like, okay, what, your body isn't going to move like Joaquin Neiman, right? It's just not going to happen. No offense, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
None taken.
no one really has that elastic spine. So I guess we kind of, covered this, but what do you feel like you have a better grip on now after all the lessons that we've done in terms of your swing?
At a high level, there is comfort and confidence. I feel that I have the ability to understand my swing a little more, and if I am swinging well, I have a better sense as to why. But more importantly, if it's a mishit or played a couple bad holes, I have an ability from a mental standpoint to slow myself down and
Hmm.
start to assess, what did I feel? What do I think I'm seeing? And correct that. So a bad stretch doesn't have to last 12 holes. It's probably two or three, and I kind of get myself righted. So I really appreciate that. That's new for me. I mean, it was one of those things where I would just show up and it's like, all right, I'm going with what I've got today. And
Hmm.
and now I've got some more tools in the toolbox.
For sure. Like, I mean, if I could use a fighting analogy, it's almost like, the boxer is coming into a fight scared and they're just trying to get through it, right? Or versus the champion boxer who's feeling out his opponent for the first 3 rounds and then he starts to pick up the pace, right? And
Right. Yeah.
within those first 3 rounds or the first 3 holes or those holes where you're struggling, you're taking that eagle eye view and saying, okay, what's going on here?
Right.
And
Yep.
then you don't, it's small little pivot adjustments like, maybe okay, weaken the grip or get the path moving a little bit more to the left.
Yeah.
Um, I want to kind of hit on a bit of a small story. You might not remember this, but it wasn't that long ago where you took a trip away and you chipped for kind of 3 hours and you were kind of working on one technique.
Yes.
Kind of talk to me about that little story that because I think something really clicked there for you when you went away and you worked on your chipping and came back.
So I had a business trip and brought my clubs. I was able to play up in Thunder Bay and had a really good round. But had some time. I was near a little municipal course, and I went one day once the workshop was done, and all I did was bring my wedge and a couple golf balls, and I used it as an opportunity to simply try a whole myriad of things. It was the freedom to really experiment. And what I found worked really well is standing a little closer to the ball, and it was just simply a more vertical up and through. So um, ball positioned back a little more to my back foot,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden I'm like, my contact is like elite. I feel really comfortable that there's, and that group that progressed really quickly. And that's probably why it ended up being 3 hours, because I'm like, oh, this is just too much fun. This
So
is
someone had
really,
to yank you off there.
yeah, they
Yeah,
were
that's awesome.
starting to shut things down. So I felt privileged to be able to make that time, but I was kind of thinking of you at the time where it's that notion of, you know, feel free to try things out, but be really mindful of it. It's not just, it's the analogy of just going out and hitting too large bucket of balls and not processing what's going on. I was
Yeah.
very purposeful through that exercise. And once I was found something that had a high degree of consistency, I really tried to hone and refine that. So that was a big change for me.
For sure. And I love that because a lot of it is what we've talked through in lessons. Like, when I give the lesson, it's up to me to give you the concept, then it's up to the player to generate the feel or
Right.
how their body can actually understand it. And that's kind of what you
Yeah.
did. Like we worked on getting more vertical, getting the ball position back, standing a little closer to it. And you always had a nice chipping motion, but I think the problem for you is that just like your swing, you were too zeroed out at impact with your attack angle, right? And the best chippers on the PGA Tour, a lot of them are going, like Victor Hovland, for instance, who's one of the best now, is like -10 attack angle, right? So I mean, we obviously didn't have TrackMan data on that session that you had, but I bet that your attack angle went from like -2 to -5 or 6 with the chipping, and then you started, hitting everything crisp. Because, like, if And this is where the golf swing can get, and even the chipping motion can get really difficult to diagnose. Like I look at this was always the trick for you, is I would look at your chipping motion on video. I'm like, it's wrong. Like everything looks perfect, right? But then when you actually dial into the statistics, well, you're just not going down enough. So it looks pretty, but you don't have the right angles coming into the ball. And you figured that out on your own, right? Kind of through the experimentation process. And I think you've been good about that where, I mean, the ideal, there's no ideal ratio, but I like to see that like a client is like 80% taking what I'm giving and then 20% experimenting with that concept, right? Because like you said before, there's not one way to get there. There's one, like you could have one concept and then go many different iterations to get to the same thing.
But it's funny, you obviously weren't there, but I felt that the things that we had shared and gone through were there with me. So even just that whole notion of purposefulness, because I don't think I would have been that mindful in the past to pay attention to where my body's at and the feel that it's generating. Of course, the results,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't just, oh, that landed 3 feet from the hole, so I need to do that again. It was more, it was really more of a feel base, and then the results sort of follow.
For sure, I love it. Talk to me a bit, Mike, about your like the mental training that we did, like in particular, like the pre-shot routine stuff that you started to implement, because I think that's something that uh a good portion of people that I coach don't necessarily take that stuff seriously. It's like, well, it's nice to work on the mental stuff, but my swing sucks. I want to work on this. But you
Yeah,
seem to really, kind of from what we our discussions, you took that part of the game seriously. So
I really,
talk to me about that mental stuff.
yeah, thanks, Cam. I really wanted to be able to almost kind of map out my round. It started on the tee and worked my way to the green, and it was a process of purposefulness, and because invariably, players have decisions to make off the tee. You could just bomb driver all day, or you could play a more deliberate game. And we had a lesson. You showed me some technology where it's you can really almost kind of look for the widest point on on the fairway, like just the and not just the
Hmm.
fairway, but the widest landing angle, and
Hmm.
go with that. So I'd embarked on that, um, and it was a series of visualization where after even an abbreviated period on the range, where it's like, well, this is what I'm bringing today. I'll aim here, or I'll position myself here to get to that spot. Visualize a good swing, the ball landing, go through, hit it, and then accept it.
Mm.
So and that's helped me to enjoy the game more, and I think it's helping to create those building blocks for scoring success. Because
Definitely.
I am not carrying around the frustration and angst of a bad shot or a bad result. Now it's more, hey, this is an opportunity for me, to be able to get myself out of trouble and reposition myself to score as well as I can. So it would almost be shot by shot where I'd get to the second one and making smarter decisions, being a little more mindful of the lie. Like just it's a holistic suite of thinking. There's the thinking box. So I process all that information, and then I get over the ball and the thinking is done. It's more,
Right. Yeah.
you've
Love it.
I've done all the preparatory work, put a good swing on it. So
Yeah. And man,
that's
easier said than done. Like I think the technical side of things is the easy part. It's the mental side where you have to carry yourself,
yeah,
through for 4 to 5 hours, trying to break down that barrier, right? Especially for someone like
yeah,
yourself who, has played to a certain level for a while and trying to get to that next level is no matter what level you're at. If you're trying to go from
yeah,
100 to 90, 90 to
yeah,
80, 70 to 60s, it's
yeah.
breaking down that wall is really, really tough. And I think you're starting to break through it, which is great.
I am. I mean, I need to be honest. The exercise of mindfulness over 18 holes can be a bit of a challenge. I mean, the
Hmm.
thing that I've suffered with is my front nine score is much better than my back. I don't know if I need to continue to work on my fitness to feel strong all the way through, or yeah, I don't know if I need to just kind of double down on that front nine effort and be present. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, it's like, I'm doing some really good things,
For sure.
and I know that there's opportunities to continue to build that up. So comfort, confidence, enjoyment have all gone up as a result.
Definitely. I think confidence has been the biggest thing for you. And just to close out, Mike, like I know we haven't spent a ton of time on it because I think you've always naturally been a pretty good putter. But talking about your putting and like what we've gone through with the putting.
Uh, so what we've gone through. I mean, you know we've had some opportunities. You have observed my putting. I think the really good drill that we did was trying to make sure that the follow through goes through relatively straight. I mean, it's not a straight back, straight through, but a
Hmm.
consistent kind of mid arc, so the ball will go and follow that ruler for 3 feet, and it's not
Right.
being pulled immediately or blocked immediately.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a focus. It's a real focus on the initial part of the roll.
Hmm.
Like really, it's kind of like the first foot or so is going to be so important. Um, and going through those drills, it's we would do things. We would work on putts that would like shorter putts too that would break, and just focusing on that apex, that point. So kind of putt to that spot. Like one time we put tees in the ground. It's like let's create a smaller target
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
create a little bit more focus. Um, I'm enjoying putting more than I ever have. I don't know if I'm necessarily way better than I ever was, but
Mhm.
again, there's a degree of comfort and confidence. I actually think that's something that you've helped instill with me, Cam. Is I'd say inside of 100, I just feel really confident. I just feel if I've got a wedge and a putter in my hand, I've got this. And
Mhm. Yeah,
I don't always do, but it's just that sense that I can do this. I can put myself in a position to score.
definitely. And I remember that one time we played together. I think again, seems like every time we get outdoors together, the weather sucks. But um, I've seen you hit some pretty incredible short shots that are put you at the caliber of like a scratch golfer, right? And you don't. I would say you don't have the most conventional putting stroke, but working on just the simple, like we don't need to rebuild your putting stroke because you have a nice touch. Just working on stuff like start line and working on better visuals. A lot of the stuff that
Yeah,
we worked on. I mean, if you look at any, PGA Tour putting area, they're working on something to do with their eyes, something to do with their start lines. If
right.
you get the start line right, then the stroke takes care of itself, right? Like
Yeah,
again, that kind of comes back to the whole conversation about working off of a model. Models just don't work when it comes to anything in the game because everyone has their own kind of expression, the way they express their game, right? So, yeah, I think that's about it, Mike. I really
yeah.
appreciate you taking the time today, and I look forward to our continuing coaching relationship, and just kind of getting you to the point where it's scratch golf every day, right?
Hey, that'll be great. We can have
That's
some
the
money.
journey.
We can have some money games. No, but
Sounds good.
for anybody watching this, give Cam a try. Just give him a try. Make an informed decision because I mean, I'm playing better than I ever have. I'm enjoying the game more than I have, and I'm excited about the further journey. So thank you very much, Cam. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you so much.